I am Yvonne Duval, she, her pronouns, and I am thrilled to welcome back to our sanctuary Rev. Dr. J. Exodus Hooper. Rev J, they, them pronouns, is an arts and cultural community curator, clergy, and scholar. They hold many degrees, including a Doctor of Philosophy in Interdisciplinary Arts, a Master's of Arts in Theology, and a Doctorate in Ministry from Union Theological Seminary. Rev J brings an enlivened, grounded, compassionate, and active UU humanism to their work. They currently serve Beacon UU in Summit, New Jersey as assistant minister. I'm so grateful for their presence with us this morning. Whoever you are, wherever you live, whomever you love, whatever you do for a living, you are welcome at the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg. We invite you to join us after service for coffee hour across the hall here in Fuller Chapel or online. I invite you to take this moment to hold our space sacred by silencing your electronic devices and preparing yourself to be present. Online or in person, we're grateful for this time together.
Good morning. It is time for our chalice lighting. Each week in our tradition, we light a chalice and we cast a circle of light to hold us all. As we create anew this symbol of a shared faith, let us reflect on these words by Howard Thurman. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have to come alive.
Together in the sacred space, we affirm our mission to encourage, equip, and empower. Please join me in the affirmation of our covenants with one another. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you to please rise and join us in song.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandfather's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builder of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are a grandmother's prayers, and we are a grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the
So here's the time for all ages. So, in my space, I'll tell you, we probably have a few youth come up and what so have you, but y'all are going to be my youth and young at heart and those alive folk that Howard Thurman talked about. I have a question for you, particularly for our topic today. If anybody has fallen in love with anything, probably growing up, one of my favorite things was superheroes. I loved superheroes. I was an X-Man fan. Okay? It was a perfect beginning of my non-binary existence. I'll be honest with you. X and man. It was like, let's go. But I have to suggest, too, that I think I find it to be now that we are looking for heroes. We are looking for heroes. We are looking for moments to feel more connected. But every time we engage a superhero, we're always engaging their superpower. Well, see how fast they go? Can they see through walls? Can they transport or teleport to another place? Can they read your mind? That'd be scary right now. Right? But have we really considered not necessarily the superpower, but the super character? The character. If I can I ask you to just shower this space with words around the characters that make a good and healthy superhero? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. When we think of these words, these characteristics are so necessary because they help in some way inform the superhero's posture to serve. No superhero that is positive in their force or in their power or in their ability can lack moral courage. Any healthy superhero would engage integrity. Any healthy superhero would ensure that people have a shared experience. And so when we look today, later in our message, I want you to reflect on the characters necessary to ensure that we engage our not only superpower to change the world, but to embody a character that suggests that we are worth changing it. Thank you.
Now is the time when we engage as a community in the sharing of our joys and sorrows, our concerns and milestones. When we join together to hold each other in support and in celebration, we deepen our sense of interrelationship. We may find our sorrows eased and our joys magnified. I invite you to share them now through writing them on an index card in the back or typing them in the virtual chat. Please indicate whether it's okay for your message to be shared out loud. You can also honor whatever you are holding in your hearts by placing a stone into the water of community. Please come down the center aisle, returning to your seats by the side aisles. Spoken or unspoken, our hearts join with yours in carrying all that life brings. place 2 final stones in the water of community, one for those joys and sorrows that remain within the confines of our hearts, and the second for those who are unable to join us today. Wenji shares, "Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. I had a bad cold the last day, so today I'm doing very well. It is my joy to be among you spiritually this morning." Welcome, Wenji. Thank you for being with us. Ed and Karen Sykes, "Glad that our son Jonathan and his family arrived at our house yesterday for vacation." And Miles, "I will graduate from medical residency this coming Friday." Let us join in the spirit of meditation, opening our hearts and minds to these words of prayer offered by Kyle Johnson. O Spirit that moves in all things, great mystery, whose reach spans beyond the cold, distant edges of our universe, and yet is present within the vast subatomic emptiness, coursing through every fiber and every breath of our being, and through being itself.
Help us to see the miracles in the mundane, to see the crystal stars, the shape-shifting clouds, the patient trees, to see each other through fresh eyes. For it is so easy to forget what we truly are and what we have been given.
As we move through our lives, let us remember to see through the mundane to the miracle beneath, and to perceive that common substance that gives birth to our myriad forms, that mystery that spans beyond the edges of the universe, and yet infuses our next breath.
And let this fundamental awareness guide us on our path as we work towards peace and fight for justice, while always informed by a spirit of compassion. May it be so. Ashe.
Make us so where we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through. With thanksgiving, we are a living sanctuary anew. Make us where we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through. With thanksgiving, we are a living sanctuary anew. Make us so where we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through. With thanksgiving, we are a living sanctuary.
Cosplay is a community, and then there's black cosplayers. We've had tons of issues in real life and online where people will say, oh, you can't cosplay that character because your skin's too dark or it's not canon, when in reality it's racist and it's not okay to say stuff like that. I can cosplay whoever I want regardless of skin tone.
It's kind of difficult when you want to express yourself and have fun and be a part of your craft. You're dealing with harsh criticisms over something that you're very passionate about. Just because my skin tone doesn't match correctly doesn't mean that I'm not embodying the character.
I get haters all the time. That's just something that a lot of POC cosplayers deal with, and I think it's 2018 and that shouldn't be an issue anymore.
People are told that they can't cosplay a particular character because they don't look like the character. Because these are fictional characters. At the end of the day, you should be allowed to cosplay whoever you want.
I don't always stick to characters that have my complexion because that doesn't matter. Who I am outside of my costume doesn't have a hold on who I want to be for that day. And each character represents something about me or something that I wish I could have exuded about me. Today, I'm Dazzler. She is Caucasian, she is blonde, but I love the character and I feel that she speaks volumes for me. Plus, she looks fabulous. So yeah, I'm gonna cosplay her, obviously. Black Cosplayer Here hashtag was started by Clueless Mel on Twitter. She started it because people were saying, oh, you know, we can't support a community that's not here. So she basically created it and said, yo, like if you're a black cosplayer, use this hashtag and prove these people wrong.
Through the hashtag, you can see that we are here, we are cosplaying, we are talented, we're not scarce.
To be able to raise up other black cosplayers and show that we aren't a minority in this scene, that we are nerds, that we should be taken seriously, and that we want to band together.
If any young POC people want to cosplay, I say 100% go for it. Don't let anything stop you. Welcome to the community. We're really nice. There's some haters, but who cares? They want to be you.
To what I can have. Oh, the sky is the limit to what I can have. The sky is the limit to what I can have. Just believe and receive it. God will promote it today. Just believe and receive it. God will promote it today. Song says, I'm looking for a miracle. I expect the impossible. I feel the intangible. I see the invisible. I'm looking for a miracle. I expect the impossible. I feel the intangible. I see the invisible. Because the sky is the limit to what I can have. The sky is the limit to what I can have. Oh, the sky is the limit to what I can have. Just believe and receive it. God will promote it today. Just believe and receive it. God will promote it today. Now look, I'm going to share this with you. I expect a miracle every day. Love will make a way out of no way. I expect a miracle every day. Love will make a way out of no way. Can I get you? I expect a miracle every day. love will make a way out of no way. I expect a miracle every day. Love will make a way out of no way. I expect a miracle. Come on, lift that. Every day, love will make a way out of no way. I expect a miracle every day. Love will make a way out of no way. One more time. I expect a miracle every day. Love will make a way out of no way. Just believe and receive it. Love will promote it today. Day. Just believe and receive it. Love will promote it today. Oh. Y'all are blessed to have a musician like that. I will say I'm going to be transparent because you know that's the only way I know how to be when I'm in this space. In my entire 9 years of being in often white liberal congregational spaces, they are never able to play music that brings me back from places I came from. So when the brother was like, I'm going to play it, I said, okay, you sure? So yes, please, by all means. We are talking about miracle workers. And of course, I hope in some way you can engage me just for a few minutes of your time as we reimagine, if you will. You probably for a minute were like, miracle workers, J, humanism, miracle, humanism. Is that the right J? Yeah, it is. Because as you know, much of my humanism, though I deeply believe in rational, scientific, and frameworks, it is nothing without imagination. It is nothing without exploring possibilities. And every day, I like to, in some way, have to say, just the very existence of my being in the world and my ancestors' beings in the world were miracle-working people and events and folk who didn't just change things, but actually were miracles for things. If it wasn't for some of the practices of their liberations, we would not be where we were. Can I say it like that? Okay? That's why we're feeling the drawback and some of the political framing now. But I wanna offer us some unique context. I need us to put on our interdisciplinary minds today, because we're gonna go from art to anime to how we're gonna be miracle workers. Everybody had probably at some point a kiddo or had experienced a kiddo or kid that when they came home from school, the first thing that they put on was the television. If they had rushed to the television, you knew that they probably had not done their homework yet. You probably also knew in that very moment that they were not even, they were probably delayed with probably studying for the quiz that was tomorrow. And their eyes were completely glued to the television. And what would they be watching but cartoons? I myself can say I was fixed to the television screen. Oftentimes, I was rushing home to watch my favorite X-Men, to watch X-Men to Batman, and from Batman to whatever else came on after that, because I can tell you it was a marathon for me when 3 o'clock hit. I had a good cardio exercise running up a hill to get to the TV, okay? And if anybody remembers, that was probably around, I was probably about doing that kind of stuff going from 7 till about 10. Now, the eye-opening thing happened at 10 because Cartoon Network became a thing. So then it got really bad. It was like toxic cartoon, toxic animation. I'm gonna call it toxic because it was nonstop. And I indulged so deeply. And I remember seeing for the first time anime. And anime had offered something very unique and different. And if you will, I'd like to spend a little time talking about anime here, because one of the things that's so unique is Osamu Tezuka was one of the creators of the first anime in 1960. Now, his work became very popular in 1960 with Astro Boy. Right? So look, see, I know. Those were transformational moments for people. The industry became so popularized that then Akira became next, Dragon Ball Z was the next thing, and then Sailor Moon. So if you are remembering any of these influences of anime, and I can guarantee you some folk in here about to say, I'm about to go watch all of these because I have no clue. And that's all right. I want you to do your investigation. Because the truth of the matter is by 1980 and 90s, anime had become a global phenomenon. It was everywhere. People were watching it. And what was making anime audiences so attracted to it was the stories. The stories were so different and arranged differently than any other story, particularly within a Western written storyline. You didn't just get a beginning, middle, and end. You didn't just also have what would be just direct relationship with the character. In anime, you had the opportunity to engage the mind of a character. And so this is what becomes very unique with the narrative process, because what happens is we begin to experience these characters, these anime characters, within the complexity of their lived experience. How is it that these 2D line, minimalist shaded characters, flat by all means, almost similar to that of the old traditional Japanese prints, took on the shape to be an animated version? They had these big eyes, tiny noses, and these enlarged heads. They were not even in bodily proportion. It's very different than X-Men. It's almost kind of X-rated to see some of the bodysuits. And I was like, I gotta have a body like that one day. I would never be as big as Wolverine. But nonetheless, these characters had an elongated form, and if some of them, like if you would watch Dragon Ball Z, that were muscle-bound, they were short and stocky. Visually, we can examine the artistic quality, trust me, but there is nothing more compelling than the narrative. When we move into the narrative, we see a deep framework of contemplation within the narrative. Contemplative narratives were the strategy within the storylines. When we look at a contemplative monologue, we would see deep inner wisdom expressed in the character. They would also reveal some of their inner strengths and some of their tender tenacities, some of their fears and their anxieties. And the United States particularly, offered narratives that were more main character focused, one-directional, and offered a sense of ambition. Here I come to save the day. We knew that. We knew the character was front and forward in the States, but something about these Japanese-inspired arts, anime had engaged the quality of discernment, reflection, and one of my favorites, intuition. These are qualities that I could resonate with as a humanist because I deeply believed in discernment. I deeply believed in the need to reflect. But most of all, listen deeply to what was right in my gut. Intuition offered these characters to begin to have a discussion amongst themselves, if not with others. It was very different than watching maybe Cyclops talk to Jean Grey versus Cyclops maybe thinking, should I talk to Jean Grey? What would Jean Grey think if I asked this question? We live like that as human beings, but we don't get a chance to see that in some of our direct narratives. It is necessary to make these comparisons, but I want to be very tactful about the quality of storytelling here. Because here, though we have engaged the main character focus oftentimes in our particular narratives of writing and storytelling, what this offers us, I'm going to introduce you to maybe a word that you've probably heard or maybe not heard before, called a heno-narrative. Heno often describes that there is a story, one story, within many stories. So a heno-narrative, instead of a monotheistic kind of narrative, right, where there's one God, right, we have that, there's a heno-narrative here where we see a perplexing and multiplicity of stories within a story, but we're going to put our attention and our awareness on one character. The devotion of the single story without pointing out there's only one main character is what I'm getting at. If we think about Adichie, if you've heard her talk, her TED Talk, the danger of the single story, she says the following: the single story, which I would consider to be our main character stories, can lead to stereotypes, which are harmful because they create a biased understanding of people and cultures. They can also rob individuals of their dignity by reducing them to a single, often negative characteristic. And if we watch the video very closely, we see that some of these characters, though we're talking about race in this one particular video, there are other narratives within that video. If you have ever seen Dazzler, Dazzler is not a full-figured, voluptuous woman. But one of the individuals who wanted to be Dazzler is full and voluptuous. There is a body phobia around who can be a certain character, right? There is a gender there's a gendering that happens with who can be a particular character. We've always seen men as presidents. It's the body. So here, what we see is we get these narratives, and we begin to slowly, for some of us, we can dissect it, question them, interrogate them, which is what we should do. But what we struggle with is sometimes we still want to hold that one main narrative. Where does that leave us? It leaves us to the place where I'm asking for us to consider being miracle workers. Well, that's a big jump. You just went from anime to being a miracle worker. So what am I going to do? You want me to dress up in cosplay? I'm sure y'all would look amazing. I'm sure if you put on your superhero cape and your costumes right now, you would feel like, I actually think I can do this. You haven't tried it yet. If you were like Clark Kent, you go change, right? If you were Batman, you'd have your money to save you, right? If you were Goku, you would get to a place where we talk about the final form and be a Super Saiyan and go through phases of your existence and slowly transform. I like talking about the miracle worker within the context of what the anime Dragon Ball Z calls the Super Saiyan. Dragon Ball Z is very unique in that sense because the Super Saiyan has phases. When you first see Goku, you often see Goku with a spiked black bang that goes forward, and then there's some back here. And he is fair-skinned. He wears all orange with a blue band around his waist, black boots. And that is his first form. When he cultivates certain relationships and goes through certain trials and tribulations along his journey and questions some of his ability to serve and protect those that he loves, he gets to a place where he goes through another phase within the Super Saiyan practice where he changes. His hair turns blonde. He then swells up a bit bigger. He's at another form. Given the situation and circumstances, he continues to build upon, reflect, discern, and engage his most inner gut feeling about situations while building relationship and challenges, and then goes further to get even bigger. His chest swells up. And all of a sudden, his hair, though turned blonde, now gets longer down the back. It's almost like a graduation gown. He's got his bachelor's, his master's, and he's getting ready to get his PhD because it gets down his back. The final form, though, that we're introduced to in the moment of Dragon Ball Z that everybody waits for most of the time is the final form. But we've been going through phases with Goku. We've been going through journeys with Goku. We've been building relationship with Goku. And I can guarantee you, if you watch Dragon Ball Z, you will probably sit there for a good while because it is a long story watching somebody go through phases. I'm sure we know some folk that we have stayed with for a very long time and watched them go through phases. And we'd be like, ooh, when you gonna grow out of that? When you gonna change into that? And when they get it, you are excited for them. You rejoice with them because you have seen them really work through so much of the garbage. Not only personally, but maybe systemically, maybe professionally, maybe it is at the front lines of justice. Maybe they were in activism, and now they are literally using that for community organizing, and now they're moving from community organizing to executive directorship. You'll be amazed at how people go through phases. The Super Saiyan goes through the final form. And the final form for Goku is very unique because the hair does get longer, but what he does is then he ends up growing hair on his arms and then develops a tail like a primate. He goes back into his instinctual quality of his great gift to self. I find it to be unique because he goes back almost to reach for an evolution that we would know. A primate, instinctual. But with all of this learning capacity and relationship building, he swells up and gets hair everywhere. It's quite unique. It reveals, if you will, an unfolding transformation of the character's existential development. It points out how to lead with love, lead with friendship, and engage self-actualization. Some of us probably need to experience that, and that is where the final form is. The final form that I invite you to consider, if you will, the final form is not just being like Goku. I don't expect for you to grow tails and things. I don't expect for you to go get costumes. And though those are beautiful elements and visual inspirations that I could share with you. I hope that you will engage them as ideas to think about how do you show up in your final form, that you can actually get to the final form by engaging the miracle working ability of offering love and friendship and self-actualization. You change the narratives when other systems are stuck in monolithic narratives. You and your story with my story in connection with other people's stories offer me the chance to break biases. In the 9 years that I have been doing this work, and particularly in these spaces, that I've often felt invisible, today was the first day ever I felt seen. It's hard to hold, to be culturally Pentecostal, as my ethical mother would know, right? And at the same time be a humanist, because that's a very unique dichotomy. But I've always been interested in shifting and changing narratives, because I want to be in relationship with those that I actually do love. And Dr. West reminds us, Dr. Cornel West would say, I am who I am because somebody loved me. I want to remind us that as miracle workers, it is our job to hold each other. It is our job to show up for each other. It is our job to sometimes tell the truth, even when they don't want to hear it. It is our job, because that is what miracle workers do. They look at what has been said, the realities that exist, and they alter it by simply doing what Bell Hooks says, that we are at odds. We are at odds with the world around us. Miracle workers are invested like the Super Saiyan in that self-actualization, in the constant relationship building, and they engage in a practice very similar to what we call, and some cultures call, the chi. A flow of energy, a vital life force. And we have to realize that we are somebody else's life force in addition to our own, that your life force is the story that is missing for me. And if we consider the work of also how Howard Thurman said, we need more people to come alive. Howard Thurman is talking to the idea of us engaging in that chi, in the unfolding of who we are with each other. It is not strange to it might be strange to consider anime as a dialogue. It might be strange to consider looking at young people enjoying themselves at cosplay. But if we looked at the sanctuary that was created for those individuals and how they advocate to be in a space, miracle workers allow for them to be seen. They are good examples of miracle workers holding space for other POC folk who exist in cosplay. It is people like Chris that are miracle workers playing tunes and melodies that usher in a new atmosphere. It is the hospitality at the door, being greeted every moment and every chance just to ensure that we are protected when we enter this building. We have a politic right now that doesn't like the idea of miracle working ability. We have a politic and a government that is struggling with the idea that miracles took place before they came. And they wonder why we don't want anyone to undo the miracle work. The thing about the work prior, that might just be the first phase. So it's time for a new revelation. It might just be time for us to look at the very things and tools and skill sets that we are using to have overall collective dialogue with any and everybody to figure out how we're going to move together. It might require for you to have that talk with that conservative cousin you got sitting across your table during Thanksgiving. It might be simply that one that you're just like, you know, they keep messing up on my pronouns. I don't know how I feel about them, and you keep offering them a loving correction. The miracle worker is always going to push against the odds. The miracle worker is not going to be on the sidelines watching things happen. The miracle worker is going to tease the ethic of living. They're going to tease the ethics of relationships. And they're going to offer us a beauty that we have been missing. I want to offer this quote from Larry Neal, who was a black aesthetician during the black arts movement. And he said the following: that ethics and aesthetics must interact positively. Ethics and aesthetics must interact positively to be consistent to meet the demands of a transformational world. This, he says, this movement of ethics and aesthetics is an ethical movement. It's ethical that its viewpoint always considers the lens of the oppressed. Its lens starts looking at the oppressed. And much of the oppression confronting those on the margins, the sensibilities that we are engaging with right now, can feel very anti-human. This was written in 1962. Recently, we see a dominant psyche that is pushing against creatives and intellects on the margins. But we have to believe, miracle workers, hear me, we have to believe that our ethics and our commitment to aesthetics are one. They have to engage positively and be consistent. Otherwise, we constantly will engage in a contradiction that an empire ideal has created for us, which is a dying culture, he says. We cannot engage in a dying culture. We have to engage not only in a moral imagination, not only in a spiritual imagination, not only in a poetic imagination. I am asking you to engage in an ethical imagination. One where aesthetics and ethics are one. So how do we begin to shift? Miracle workers are hard to find. The first thing that a miracle worker has to do, along with Goku had to do, ego has to collapse. I want to invite us to always push against that. Miracle workers are likely sitting at the table that they also need to flip. Miracle workers are at the frayed ends of life circumstances in order to make them whole. Miracle workers don't just come to do good, they come to do great work. Miracle workers are not just categorized by what they are theologically positioned to be, but they are actually beyond belief. And they are breaking realities daily. Miracle workers are the thermostats, and they are not just simply the thermometer in the room. Miracle workers are actually what Mr. Rogers actually says, go look for them. They are the helpers. Miracle workers are in need to create a process that allows for us to have both fellowship, function, and a future. I invite you to be the miracle workers that you are called to be.
The Unitarian Church of Harrisburg is, as always, an intentionally gathered congregation of free-thinking, loving people. The church is created, sustained, and supported by us. For the month of May, we are sharing with the Oliver LaGrone Scholarship Program. The LaGrone Scholarship offers the largest local scholarship available to graduates of Harrisburg Public High Schools. If you wish to contribute online, visit uchbg.org and scroll to the bottom of the page for options. You may also scan the QR code found on the back of your order of service. Your financial support and commitment matter. Please consider giving what you are able.
I love it. I'm sorry, that was wrong. Oh, okay.
We dedicate these gifts to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of compassion and action, faith and fellowship, hope and wholeness.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
A miracle is a shift in perception from fear to love, from a belief in what is not real to a faith that says it can be so. The shift is perceptions change everything. Thank you.